Welcome back to the cryptoworld channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now both Bitcoin and Ethereum are still running into critical support, but in the short term both Bitcoin and Ethereum are forming new patterns right now, so I'll be talking about that in just a moment. Definitely stick around. First of all, starting off on the 4-day Bitcoin chart, and right now over the last 1 day, not much has changed on this chart, on this time frame over the last 1 day. So if you're new to the channel, then check out my last video on this channel to find out more about this chart right here. So getting straight into the daily Bitcoin chart, and right now the price of Bitcoin is still trading just above this important area of support, sitting in between around 24.3k to 25.3k. But obviously, even though the price of Bitcoin has recently been running into the upper side of this area of support, technically we're still within a shorter term bearish trend, because as of right now the RSI is still technically trending to the downside, forming lower highs and lower lows with an active bearish divergence. And on top of that, if you're looking at the daily Bitcoin MACD, technically this is still looking more bearish than bullish. So once again, as I've been saying on the channel, we are simply within a short term bearish trend. But once again, even during a bearish trend, we can see some small pauses from the bearish trend, like for example, some choppy sideways price action, if not a slight bullish relief during the bearish trend. And at least over the last few days or so, this is basically what we've seen, just a small pause from this short-term bearish trend, mostly in the form of choppy sideways price action. And this is due to factors like, for example, the price running into important support, which is essentially buying pressure pushing up the price or supporting the price during this bearish trend, and also other factors like the daily Bitcoin RSI looking extremely oversold right now. And if you're looking at other times throughout Bitcoin's history over the last 1 year or so, when the daily RSI entered into oversold territories, this has usually meant the price of Bitcoin basically dropped too far to the downside too quickly, at least in the short term, and we were due to see a bit of a cool off from all of the bearish price action in the imminent short term, talking about over the next few days or weeks. And so once again, due to these sort of reasons, we have seen a bit of a pause from this short-term bearish trend. But once again, technically speaking, this is not enough to actually confirm that the bearish trend is over, because as I said earlier, the bearish divergence is still currently active on the daily chart and also that larger 4-day chart, which I talked about in my last video. But now, if you're zooming into the 4-hour Bitcoin chart, just in the short term, the price of Bitcoin is potentially forming a new bullish divergence, because obviously, as of right now, we've just recently confirmed new lower lows in the price of Bitcoin in the 4-hour candle closes, while also confirming higher lows in the 4-hour Bitcoin RSI. And so once again, technically speaking, this is a bullish divergence in the short term, which is once again pointing towards some reduced bearish momentum, at least in the short term, talking about the coming days or so. And as always, the most common outcomes from a bullish divergence is usually either some choppy sideways price action, if not a slight bullish relief. And the point of invalidation for this bullish divergence would simply be a confirmed break below this low in the price, because if that actually happens, we would have to reconfirm potentially a new bullish divergence again. Or if we see a breakdown in the RSI into lower lows or below this ascending line of support, those are signals to help invalidate this potential bullish divergence. And so once again, just in the imminent short term, when you're talking about the next few days or so, based on multiple signals like this short-term bullish divergence and the RSI looking extremely oversold, and also the price itself running into important support, as I've said over the last few days, these are all signals pointing towards a bit of a pause in the imminent short term from this bearish trend. But those signals are simply not enough to fully confirm that the bearish trend is over. So once again, in terms of the short-term trend, we are still currently looking more bearish than bullish. And if you're looking at the Bitcoin order books across multiple different exchanges, right now we do have a decent amount of buy orders at around 25.3k to 25.4k. And we also have another group of buy orders sitting at pretty much exactly $25,000 per Bitcoin. And so those price levels just there should act as a bit of support, at least in the short term. And as for resistance, looking at the sell orders, we do have a lot of sell orders going up towards around $26,000 per Bitcoin. And we also have another group of sell orders sitting at around 26.3K to 26.4K. So once again, just in the shorter term, those are the price levels where we could expect a bit of short-term resistance. But anyway, now getting into the Ethereum part of this video, this is on the daily ETH to US dollar chart. And over the last one day, we have potentially seen the beginning of a break to the downside below this important area of support, which is still sitting in between around 1650 to 1.7K. But with that being said, obviously so far this daily candle close is only slightly below this important support. So ideally, in order to become more confident that we're really breaking to the downside and about to begin another leg to the downside, we would ideally need to look out for more confirmation, like for example, more candle closes below this support or a potential retest, flipping this support into new resistance with a rejection. Because once again, if we see those sort of signals, that would further confirm a break to the downside, which would basically mean we could become more confident that the price is really heading in that direction. But for the bulls out there, in order to actually avoid another break to the downside and another leg to the downside in this short-term bearish trend, we would really need to see a breakout back above around 1650 and hold that level as new support again. But once again, as I've been saying over and over again on the channel, technically we are still within a short-term bearish trend, forming lower highs and lower lows in the shorter term here. And the same goes for the RSI, obviously trending to the downside, and the MACD also showing bearish momentum on the daily time frame. But of course, over the last few days, we have seen a slight pause from this short-term bearish trend due to factors like the price also running into this major support, also the RSI looking extremely oversold on the daily time frame. And of course, if you're looking at the other times over the last 1 year or so where the daily Ethereum RSI has either entered into oversold territories or gotten very close to oversold territories, we can see that this basically always happens just after some sort of crash in the price of ETH or shorter term dump in the price of ETH, because basically the price of ETH goes too far to the downside too quickly in the short term, which causes the RSI to enter into oversold territories, which means we have somewhat limited room to the downside, at least in the short term. And so usually what we end up seeing is a reset in the RSI over the coming days or weeks, which plays out in the form of either choppy sideways price action, if not a slight bullish relief more often than not. So that's basically the situation right now. Once again, we're technically taking a bit of a pause from this short-term bearish trend, but if this break to the downside below 1650 further confirms with those extra confirmation signals that I talked about earlier, then in that case, looking at the next support levels to the downside, if this break to the downside confirms, our next important support on the daily time frame is the 50% retracement level sitting at around 1510 to 1520, so just above 1.5k. But in a more bearish scenario, if 1.5k does not hold, then in that case we have the important golden pocket area of support sitting in between around 1360 to 1.4k. And now if you're zooming into the 4-hour ETH to US dollar chart, right now the price of ETH is forming and potentially playing out a new bullish divergence pattern, because obviously as of recent, the price of ETH has now confirmed new lower lows in the 4-hour candle closes in the price, while also confirming higher lows in the 4-hour Ethereum RSI. And so once again, this is technically a shorter term bullish divergence. And typically we see bullish divergences play out in the form of either choppy sideways price action, if not a slight bullish relief. So simply based on this pattern on the 4-hour chart, those are the most likely scenarios just in the short term, talking about the coming 1 to 2 days or so. But remember, this is only on the smaller time frames in the shorter term, so this does not necessarily cancel the short-term bearish trend that we have been seeing over the last 1 month or so. And instead, it basically means, once again, we're in for potentially another pause from this short-term bearish trend. And now, if you want to know how to maximize your profits in crypto, no matter if the price is going to the upside, to the downside, or simply chopping around sideways, then make sure to watch these videos popping up right here on your screen. The video in the top left shows you how to make money if the price is bullish or bearish, and the video in the bottom left shows you how you can easily profit from choppy sideways price action. But anyway, that's everything that I have to say for today. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.